This video is sponsored by Creative Assembly. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and today we're going to do something a little bit different. You see, modding and Total War come hand in hand. It's very important, at least in my opinion, and there's many cool mods in the Warhammer workshop at the moment for Warhammer 3. Mods that add in units, lords, even a new way to play your campaign. And, well, Creative Assembly reached out and asked me if I could do a top 10 list about which of the mods I think are the best at the very moment. This is of course the top 10 list for the month of June, and it is kind of tough to work out. There are many talented modders right now creating loads of different mods, some of them who have been making contact previously, showcasing stuff that's work in progress, and yeah, let's just celebrate modding in general. A big thank you to Creative Assembly for sponsoring this video, but without further ado, let's begin. So we're going to start off strong with a mod that can help out all the Monogod factions. This is Dan's Monogod roster expansion, and this is a mod for you, especially if you like playing as the demons, because this adds in a bunch of units, not just for, say, for example, Tzeentch, but for Khorne, for Slaanesh, for Nurgle. This mod will give you access to a lot of different units, so you can beef up your forces a little bit more. Are you needing some Chaos Warriors of Slaanesh? Well, here you have them. Do you want some Chosen of Khorne? Well, here you can have them too. Maybe a Great Unclean One mounted up top a Palanquin, making it more focused on being an artillery piece. Here you've got that too. It's a pretty good mod which adds a lot of variety, and obviously for us that were so used to playing, say for example, Warhammer 1 and Warhammer 2, which has had a lot of DLC, so the rosters there are so very full, a mod like this is going to make you feel like it's a bit more fuller, and I imagine that a mod like this will be very, very useful when the Immortal Empires eventually releases, as obviously this gives you a bit more variety to fight back against all the other factions, like say the Skaven, which have an incredibly large roster and loads of variety. All of the units that you can see on screen are taken from various bits of lore and tabletop, so you can see a few things that are inspired from the Storm of Chaos campaign, a few kit bashes that were official from Games Workshop, so everything that you're using is very lore friendly. It's not supposed to break your immersion whatsoever, and it's available in campaign and custom battles, so you can check them out in custom battles, see if you like them, if these units are for you, or just jump straight into a campaign and start causing some chaos. The Slaanesh roster itself is absolutely massive thanks to this, and it adds in a lot of armor that was kind of needed at the very beginning, but overall I'd say that this is a mod that always stays in my load order if I can, as I kind of like playing as the demons, a faction I've been waiting for a long, long time now, so yeah. So that was our 10th spot, but moving on to our 9th spot, we have Dead of the Orient by Paul Janan. So, as it stands, we know next to nothing about Grand Cathay. We know little bits of tidbits of lore, but we don't know exactly how large of an army they have. What do they use? However, taking from real-world mythology and folklore, it's easy enough to make an educated guess. So what this mod does, it revives the long-lost spirits of Grand Cathay to defend their ancestral homeland once again. The powers of chaos are always throwing themselves up to the Grand Bastion, and you need to be able to fight. Even in death, you must still serve. The units themselves look really awesome, and the idea is to have something that looks pretty grim, but still fits in the line of Cathayan lore. Hopefully eventually we will get some sort of army book getting released. We do know that they have been confirmed for Warhammer the Old World, and that we'll be able to see more or less how people's guesses have lined up with official stuff. That to me is actually really exciting, because a lot of people have been very spot on with their guesses before, and I would like to see how that goes. This mod is really good if you need some extra units, some units that cause fear, because you're not just dealing with demons, you're dealing with some Skaven, you're dealing with some orcs, you're dealing with ogres. It would be nice to have something to fight back with the fear. Plus, let's be honest, we're all kind of missing our undead units in the field, aren't we? It's been a long time since we've been able to play as Vampire Counts, Tomb Kings, and so on, so this gives us a bit of a feeling on more or less how a lot of people imagine the Jade bloodline would work. Once again, all these units can be recruited in campaign and in custom battles, and do keep an eye out for certain submods. For our 8th spot on this list, we have Dead's Cathay Unit Pack by Dead Baron. This adds in a bunch of different Cathayan units, mostly focused around gunpowder, but we do have a few frontline units too, and the idea is to add a bit more flavor. Once again, what we do know around Grand Cathay is the fact that they do have the most diverse in terms of different cultures, so we're expecting loads of different types of units too. So this adds in a bit more fire to your punch. For our 7th spot, we have a legendary hero mod known as Sylar Not Charabdis. This adds in Sylar Anfingrim, a very popular character from Warhammer Fantasy and also Blood Bowl too. This mod is by a number of modders, which are Stratovarius, Dead Baron, Not So Skelly Bones, and Kamar. All of these modders are making quite a name for themselves in the modding community, and it's very obvious why this mod is absolutely awesome. It adds in a legendary hero when you play as the Cornate faction with Scarbrand. The model itself looks awesome. It takes from the rig of the Rat Ogres and even has its own unique skill line. It's just a fantastic mod, and it's a character which really, we don't know if we'll ever get officially, but this is a really good interpretation. Moving on to our 6th spot, we have GMD Thundertusk. This is by De Laguna, and it is an absolutely awesome thing. Now, I will sound very biased here, but I played a lot of armies back in the day on the tabletop, and one of the units that always stood out to me the most was the Thundertusk. It was absolutely awesome because it just looked really cool and had some cool effects too. So we're seeing it interpreted here, as unfortunately we haven't gotten it officially yet. I'm imagining we will eventually, but thankfully we've got some modders coming in to add in one of the best looking monsters available in the Ogre roster. Now, this unit mod does add in a few different variants. You can get this as a mount for your hunter, you can just get them as normal monsters, or you can get it as a Regiment of Renown. They're absolutely massive and they're super cool. If you want to go full monster, you really should with the Ogres because it's just kind of fun. I would highly recommend this mod. For our 5th spot, we have the Toggle Chaos Realms mod, and what it does is when you go onto your campaign, when you select a new character, if you don't want to deal with, say, for example, the rifts, and you don't want to deal with the storyline, you just want an old school traditional Total War feel, well, you're able to do so. It's completely optional to you. You have to keep in mind to go into the settings, as I show right here. Now, why is this mod so important? Well, we are getting closer and closer to the Immortal Empires campaign, and the fact is that we're not going to see rifts spawning everywhere. We're not going to have to travel into the Chaos Realms. The fact is that we've been playing a very different style of Total War, and now we have to kind of get used to the idea of getting more back to a traditional feel. Whereas rather than kind of buckling down and dealing with the rifts, now you can just expand, empire build. Now, yes, many of us are still playing Warhammer 2 and obviously still playing the Immortal Empires to get used to the older races or just have fun with the older races. There are new players coming into the game series which will only, for example, know Realm of Chaos. So if you want to get used to an older style, and even if you're used to Mortal Empires and the older games, but you just want to see how it would work with just building up an empire with Scarbrand, Nekari, or whatever, you can do this with this mod, and I think that's a really good thing. This is a fantastic mod by Drunk Flamingo, and I've been using this for a long time because obviously I had early access, so I've already played all the campaigns, and I kind of just wanted to relax and just play Total War in an old school way because I wanted to get used to the armies in an old school way for the eventuality of Immortal Empires. Next, we have a very special mod. So you can see some vanilla units too, but what you are seeing is a lot of Noblars. The idea is a Noblar army, a meme from way back in the day of White Dwarf where there was a legitimate Noblar army list. This is a mod by Stratovarius and Karma, once again, very popular modders, and this allows you to play Noblar only playthroughs with the Ogre Kingdoms. You might be wondering, why is that? Well, if you're an old guard like me on the tabletop, you kind of want to live the meme, and I think it's kind of fun. You've got so many different types of Noblars, you actually have a pretty versatile army. I mean, they're not going to be doing amazing, but you have some fun here. You've also got access to a Lord and also a hero, so you can actually go full 20 stacks of Noblars and Noblars alone. Now, the future is that this is going to be turned into a faction. That will have to be when the asset kit gets eventually released, but if you want some more chaff and versatile chaff at that, or you want to punish yourself and do a Noblar only challenge, it is very possible, and it's really fun. I've tried it myself. It's difficult, but it's actually pretty fun. For our 3rd spot, we have Yin Yin the Sea Dragon and Warriors of the Jade Sea. This is by Paul Janan once again. An absolutely special mod because this is absolutely special. So we know Yin Yin exists in lore, but we don't know what she looks like. So the modder has decided to their interpretation of it, but also adding in some extra flavor. So we've got a bunch of different units being added in. It's not just Yin Yin, which is a legendary lord available to both of the Cathayan lords, so you can decide to start with Dragon Bro or Meow Meow, but you've also got access to some really cool units, like, say, for example, the Golden Heron. It's something just amazing. It's probably one of the best looking units I've ever seen. then obviously some Ogre Whalers now, even some Nipponese units. Now obviously we don't know how canon something like this could be, this is just a modder's interpretation, so we'd have to wait and see until we get an eventual release of a Cathayan army book, but I think that something like this, using some headcanon, especially for something like Grand Cathay, which we know next to nothing about, is something really, really special, and modders can legitimately just have as much fun as possible, which I think is absolutely awesome, because the mod is great, you can see the units, they look absolutely awesome, and it's a mod that I really enjoy. Cathay has been getting a lot of really cool mods, and again, it is very needed for a faction that we know nothing about. For our second spot, we have the Motherland. This is by Zoodad, Gun King, Casmo, Calm and Normal Time, and Scribe Untitled. So the Motherland is a mod that takes Kislev back to its more traditional roots. The idea is, well, we all know Kislev from 6th edition, you know? It was a little supplement around 20 pages, and that was our official Kislev army, alongside the War Master stuff. So what this does is it brings back that feeling, it recolors the bears, it gives us the old school look for the Griffin Legion, which I think is really nice, back with the red and white horses, and also makes the sleds a little bit less beary. So the light sleds are now Oblast sleds and they're pulled by horses. The mod itself is going to be something quite big as time progresses. Zoodad is very known to follow the lore, and he's got some very popular Warhammer 2 mods that focus around the Empire, so this has a lot of promise, and I have to say that it's one of the ones that I'm just excited to know more about as time progresses. There is a lot to this mod, and I will recommend it if you like the more traditional look for Kislev. And for our first spot, we have SFO Grim Hammer 3. There's a lot to talk about this mod. So what is SFO Grim Hammer? It's a massive overhaul for the Warhammer series, and it has been growing for years and years. I believe it's also one of, if not the most subscribed mod in Total War Warhammer 2. So it's coming over and it's bringing loads of quality of life changes and loads of different things that you know from Warhammer 2 are going to come back here, especially when the Immortal Empire releases. The SFO series is not there to replace Total War Warhammer in its new form, but rather give you an overhaul so you could play in a more different way. If you want to play with your favorite characters, but maybe with more viable melee, if you want to try more of a tabletop focus type of gameplay, that's how I've always seen SFO, and the SFO team has always worked really hard. In fact, if we just look at the patch notes for the most recent patch for SFO Grim Hammer 3, known as the Land of Wealth, it's absolutely massive, because each patch is very, very large, and the patches are generally this size each time, which is impressive, so it gives you reason to play again and again. Overhaul mods are always really cool. They're not there to replace vanilla, but rather enhance it, give you another feel, and I always really appreciate these types of things, as it gives me a reason to play, say, I don't know, Tyrion or Karl Franz once again. So eventually when Immortal Empires comes out, you can play with all the factions that you know in its vanilla state, but then if you want to play with them again and you want a different feel, there you go. You've already got that there with loads of campaign changes, loads of battle changes as it stands, with all the vanilla factions from Warhammer 3. The SFO team is also about to release a new addition to its mod known as the Tidesweeper, and this allows you to set overall strength of all AI factions in the game, and you can see what effects they can do, how it makes them stronger. It's going to change your campaign overall, and this is also going to come alongside a new SFO settings menu. As you can see here, it's very, very big, because it's going to allow you to tamper around with little things and just play about, get the campaign that you want from your SFO playthrough, which I think is pretty cool. Venris is the head of the SFO team, and he's got a good team behind him to make sure that these patches are always coming out quite consistently, so you're always having something new to play with. But here we are. These are my top 10 picks for the mods in the Steam Workshop at this very moment. They're all very fun. You can find them in the description below. What mods would you say are your essential ones for Total War Warhammer 3? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And a big thank you to Creative Assembly for reaching out and sponsoring this video, as this is always quite fun. I like to cover mods, and we know that modding goes really well with Total War. It's always been a really cool thing. But with all that being said, my friends, have a lovely day, and I shall see you all again very, very soon.